Good evening, everyone. My name is Hainisha Malone. I am the Vice President of the West Garfield Park Youth Council, and we believe that we are the solution to the issues in our community. Our topic is Nothing With Us Without Us. The West Garfield Park Youth Council is sponsored by Fathers Who Care, which is a nonprofit organization located on the west side of Chicago within the West Garfield Park community. Again, everyone, my name is Hainisha Malone, and I am the Vice President of the West Garfield Park Youth Council. The West Garfield Park Youth Council is comprised of young people from our community whose focus and concern is youth leadership and a voice within the community to reduce senseless violence and illegal substance use. We invite people from all over, especially young people, to come in and see what we are all about. Our show will be scheduled every Thursday at 7 p.m. Again, that is every Thursday at 7 p.m. If you would like to call into the show to ask questions, you may feel free. And you can call us at 312-738-1060. Again, the number is 312-738-1060, located on the bottom of the screen. Our show can also be viewed online at www.cantv.org/live. Again, that website is www.cantv.org/live. Well, everyone, I would like to introduce my guest this evening, Ms. Daisy Gomez, Educational Clinical Services Coordinator for Hartgrove Behavioral Health System and Garfield Park Behavioral Health Hospital. Thank you for being on the show today.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation. On behalf of Hartgrove Behavioral Health System and Garfield Park Behavioral Hospital, we're just thrilled that you guys gave us the opportunity to be here and have this discussion on such an important month.
Yep.
So with all gratitude, thank you.
Of course. Again, everyone, my name is Hainisha Malone. I am the Vice President of the West Garfield Park Youth Council. You are watching a live interactive call-in television network brought to you on CAN-TV 21. During the next 25 minutes, we are going to discuss mental health and young people part 2. Now, I have a few questions for you.
Yes, let's get started.
Who are you and what is your purpose for existing?
That is such a deep question, but
It's a very broad question, too.
But I'm glad you're asking it, actually. So, my name is Daisy Gomez. I am a daughter. I'm a daughter of immigrants. I'm a first-generation Latina here in the United States. I'm an aunt to 2 amazing boys, one 6 and the other one 12. And most importantly, I'm a very, very big mental health advocate. By trade, I am a licensed clinical professional counselor here in the state of Illinois. And so, that's a little bit about me.
Okay.
My purpose. Now, let's dive into the purpose.
Yeah, that's a deeper question.
That is a very deep question, but I think I've lived a life where I'm always constantly reassessing and hoping that I can align with my purpose. And one of the things that I really feel is a purpose in my life is to empower and advocate for others to live the best quality life that they can by taking care of their mental health and protecting their mental health.
I agree.
And through my profession, that's one of the ways that I'm able to kind of serve others and live my purpose.
That's good. So how long have you been educating, counseling, and empowering young people, and what have you learned from them?
Wow. It's been a while. I've been a therapist for over 8 years now, after I got my master's in counseling 8 years ago. However, I've been in the field for like a really long time. My first job was working in a community nonprofit servicing youth as well as underserved communities or parents of underserved communities. So I did a little bit of everything. I did tutoring. I did teaching parents, just general workshops on life skills. I was teaching parents English at some point. And so I can remember since the age of 18, I've been working in the helping profession or the social services profession. When I actually decided to become a therapist and do counseling, one of the things that I decided to do was work with children and adolescents and youth. And so before I joined Hartgrove Behavioral Health System and Garfield Park Hospital as their Educational and Clinical Services Coordinator, one of the things that I was doing was, for several years actually, I was a school counselor. I was a therapist placed in several Chicago public schools. So I was really privileged to have the opportunity to work with middle schoolers and high schoolers and even some post-secondary, so like young adults. I was able to provide them with individual counseling, group therapy as well in school. So it was really great because I had full exposure to them. Like, they were with me 5 days a week.
Exactly.
And it was great. And so working with them for several years, I had the blessing to really learn a lot from them. And one of the biggest things that I learned was youth want to be heard. And they want to be validated, their thoughts, their feelings, their desires. They want to be heard, and they want us to hear them. And a lot of the times, I think we live in a culture where sometimes parents don't hear them, the community doesn't hear them. And so they want to just be heard. And with that being said, I think it is really important to us to also learn that youth are really insightful, smart, and really powerful. So if we equip them with the right tools, and if we give them the resources, I think they'll really be able to create a lot of change. And they're our future. So we need to invest in them, right? We need to empower them to be able to create changes in our communities, changes in our country, and in the world.
Yep. So what is mental health, and how can it impact us?
Mental health. All right. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. So mental health is any social, emotional, psychological, mental well-being. So how are you doing in those areas, right? It impacts every aspect of our life, and it impacts us in so many ways, right? It impacts the way that we think, right? What's going through our mind? What are the thoughts that we're having about ourselves, about others? It impacts the way that we feel. So what are the emotions that we're having, and why are we experiencing those emotions? Right. It impacts the way that we act, so the decisions that we make, the behaviors that we are involved in, right? And overall, it just kind of impacts the quality of life, because your mental health determines how you navigate through life, right? How you make decisions, how you deal with stressors. And we've been living under a lot of stress for the last 2 years during this pandemic, and just kind of in crisis mode for the last 2 years. And so our mental health determines how we're able to deal with these stressors, we're able to deal with changes. And they don't have to be big changes. They can be like day-to-day things, right? And so taking care of our mental health is super important. And one of the things that I do want to kind of emphasize is that our mental health is just as important as our physical health. And we don't talk about that enough, right? Sometimes
not as much.
Not as much. And so sometimes there's this idea that, like, you know, if you have a broken arm, that's more important than your mental health, but they're just as equal as important, right? And we need to kind of give them the attention that they need.
So when you were counseling the high schoolers and the middle schoolers, what was the difference that you realized between the two?
Oh, that's a really great question. One of the things that I noticed is that the issues, or mental health issues, started really young. So I was working with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and to be quite honest, the communities that I worked in, they were very much, they had obviously a lot of crime rates and very limited resources, a very much immigrant community as well. And so I was noticing that the 7th and 8th grade girls, they had very severe symptoms. They had probably, from my caseload, they had higher rates of depression and anxiety than actually the 7th grade, the high school girls or the high school students. Because by the time youth got to high school, either they learned how to cope in a healthy way, or they learned how to cope in unhealthy ways. And so during the middle school age, so 11, 12, 13, 14, that's also when puberty hits, right? And so there's a lot of physiological changes that are happening with your body, as well as mental changes and psychological changes that are happening with your brain. And so I feel that that is the age group that sometimes we do not give it as much attention, because
they're young, or
they're going through puberty, or
it's
normal.
just puberty, like that's what's gonna happen. But
that's
not always true.
Exactly, and that's not always the case. And a lot of the times we did not give them the attention that they needed, because we just assumed it was normal, or that.
And that's one of the reasons why they branch off and find ways for them to be seen, or find ways for them to be heard. Because what they say, you look at them like, oh, they're young, but they're gonna get older, and they gonna remember that you pushed them away and made them feel like their feelings weren't valid. So as they keep growing up, they gonna keep finding other ways to be seen or to be heard, or find a way that someone's gonna give them the attention and like hear them, and it's just gonna make them do worse things. So I feel like you should always catch them while they're young, because that's always the best time before they get older and make worse decisions.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct on that. And I think people will find ways to cope and ways to ask for help, whether they're healthy or unhealthy ways, right? And so the sooner that we start getting help and support, the better probability is that we live a very optimal and healthy lifestyle later on in our adulthood.
So what are some ways that people can deal with mental health or physical health? Well, both.
With both. Okay, well, first of all, one of the things that we want to take notice is why we would want to take care of our mental health and things to start to notice, right? So some of the warning signs or some of the things that we want to look out for. I do want to say that every physical person is completely different. Is physically, emotionally, mentally different. So everyone will have different symptoms and signs when they're experiencing a mental health crisis or when they're having any mental health issues, right? But generally speaking, we will see a huge decline in their mental and emotional health. And what that can look like is in the sleep. How are they sleeping, right? Are they getting enough hours of sleep? We're going to take notice in the appetite. Is there an increase or a decrease in appetite? Is there a weight gain or a loss or weight loss, right? How's the energy? Sometimes when you're experiencing a lot of emotional distress, the energy levels are down, they go downhill. Other things that you'll notice is that you'll see more anxiety, more worry, a lot more depressed moods, more sadness for longer periods of time. Poor concentration is a huge one. You can't stay on target or you can't concentrate. And those are kind of some of the most general warning signs that we'll see. And so how can we address them, right? It's really important to take notice that once you don't start feeling like your normal self, you'll always get that feeling of like, I don't feel like my normal self.
I wouldn't do this, exactly.
Or I feel a little out of it, right? And it's more days than not, then that's a sign that your mind and your body are telling you like, hey, you need to start taking care of your mental health better. And some of the very basic ways that we can do that is just addressing our basic needs, right? And on a personal level, before you seek professional help, there's so many things that you can do, right? Especially young people, because we lack in all these areas. We don't really address them. How many hours of sleep are you getting? Try to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep, right? Very bare minimum. And then also check in with yourself. Are you rested when you wake up in the morning? Even you slept 10 hours, do you feel energized in the morning after sleeping that much, right? Nutrition is huge, especially from my experience working with young people. Their breakfast was sugary drinks and a lot of unnecessary items that they were consuming. And so nutrition impacts your moods, it impacts your energy levels, and so it plays a big role. So just even being mindful of how you're nourishing your body, what you're putting into your body, can be a way to protect and take care of your mental health. The other thing is hydration, and this one I can't emphasize enough. Today it's 95 degrees, right?
Yeah, you need it.
And so we need to stay hydrated all the time, even in the winter time. And from working with a lot of youth, they would not drink water. They were not drinking a lot of water, and I think that also was a big factor in determining like, hey, how am I feeling the next day, or how am I feeling even throughout the day in regards to energy, in regards to moods. Other things that you can do is just take breaks. I think we're always on the go. We're always plugged into something, right? Are you taking a mental break? Are you just taking a break where you're shutting things off, not looking at your phone and disconnecting? Are you taking a physical break throughout the day? Can you just sit and not do anything for 1 minute or 2 minutes, right? The other thing that we want to take notice when we want to take better care of our mental health is relaxation and meditation and anything.
Important.
Yes.
People always say, "Oh, I can't meditate." It's just like
you can,
right? That's what I'm saying. It really helps. Like it really like. I can't even explain it.
It takes you to a whole other place, right? Afterwards, but in the moment of meditation or any relaxation exercise, it really can be anything as basic as your day-to-day activities, right? Incorporating 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes of your day into just taking your mind and your body into that Zen mode per se, right? And right now there's so many resources, right? Like there's a ton of apps. YouTube is a great resource for you to even take a look into meditations, breathing exercises, and if it all feels, just sit in silence for 1 minute, right? And so we do have those resources. It's a matter of using it. And one of the things that I always would tell my clients, or my young clients more so, it's meditating and relaxation. It's a very intentional act that you have to keep doing. It's somewhat like building a muscle when you go to the gym. You're working on your biceps, right? If you go to the gym once, it's not going to work. right?
Exactly.
So the same thing with meditation, you have to kind of keep going on it. You have to make sure that you are consistently working on that muscle.
Exactly.
To relax. So those are just kind of some of the ways that we can take care of our mental health on a personal level, right? But the most important thing to keep in mind is when do we need professional help, right? Because that's the best way that we can protect our mental health and just improve the quality of our mental health, right? And a lot of the times we don't know when to seek help, right? So once you've noticed that there's a decline in your mental health, you're doing all the things, you're eating better, you're sleeping well, and you're still feeling some of these signs and symptoms, right, that I mentioned, then it's really important to start looking for support. Talk to someone that you trust, whether it's a school counselor, whether it's someone in your community, a church member, an adult, a parent, someone that you feel comfortable and have an honest conversation of what's going on with you, and then find help, right? There are a lot of resources. Unfortunately, currently, because everyone's seeking services, there may be a lot of wait times. But there's things such as individual counseling, group counseling, couples counseling, family counseling. There are psychiatric evaluations, so if and when there's a need for medication, those services are also available. And then there, actually at Heart Grove Behavioral Health System in Garfield Park, we have 2 outpatient clinics. One is located in the Chatham area and then one in the Oak Park area, and I'd be happy to provide some of that information. But one of the things that they offer all the services that I mentioned, right? Individual, group counseling, and they offer it in person, they offer virtual services, and a hybrid version of that. And what that means is that if someone wants to get services in person and also needs to get services virtually, it's that combination. And now, one of the great things about the pandemic is that we've made services a little bit more flexible in general, right? Now you can you can get therapy online, right? And so
is it free?
No, you would definitely need to. You go through like an intake process, and they run your insurance, and then they assign that. Just like any traditional outpatient clinic. The only benefit about this is that you can probably get a daytime appointment within a week or so, compared to other places that have a lot of wait time. So those are just kind of some of the ways that we can take care of our mental health, but it's more important to recognize our signs early so that we don't so that the symptoms don't worsen over time.
Yep. A quick question in the middle of that. You said that if someone were to sleep for 10 hours and still not feel rested, like what does that mean? Because
that means you're not getting quality sleep overnight, right? Like, and that can look like maybe you're waking up in the middle of the night and you're having a hard time falling asleep again, right? Or maybe you are having a hard time waking up because you want to sleep a lot. That can be a sign of either some type of depression, anxiety. It can be a sign of a lot of things, right? It can even be related to the last time, how early on did you have a meal, per se.
So what is the difference between mental and behavioral health?
That's a good question. Those terms are very common and they're used a lot interchangeably. So you're going to hear behavioral health and mental health very frequently. But one of the things to take notice is that behavioral health actually is what I call the big umbrella. So under behavioral health is mental health. So it includes mental health, right? And behavioral health essentially is just studying someone's behavior and how that impacts your health, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be just specific to psychological or mental health, but in many cases it is.
Okay. So why is it important to have this discussion during Mental Health Awareness Month?
Well, happy May and happy Mental Health Awareness Month. It's really important to have this discussion today, this month, and every day if possible, to be quite honest. I don't think we have enough conversations. It's important to continue this dialogue outside of this month and have them regularly, right? Have them when you're having, lunch with your friends, or have them when you're having dinner with your family, right? Have more conversations so that we can continue to increase the awareness. And it should not just be 1 month, because guess what? People experience mental health issues all year long, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So it's very important, and I'm really happy that at least we dedicate a 1 month a year, but we should constantly be addressing mental health awareness.
So what are some personal signs of poor mental health, and how can we address these signs and effects?
Yeah, kind of what I just explained briefly was taking notice of what's going on with you, checking in with yourself, right? How are you doing physically and mentally? And the things can look like sleeping. How are you sleeping? Are you having changes in your appetite? Are you losing weight unintentionally? Are you gaining weight? How's your energy doing? and kind of addressing those things. How are your moods? Have you seen a decline in your moods? Are you less energetic? Are you having more sadness and worry or sad moods for a long periods of time that are just not normal? Those are indicators that there is something going on, or that you're having kind of what you referenced, poor mental health, right? And I mentioned a little bit about the personal things that you can do on an individual level, and then once you feel like that, if that's not working, then you definitely need to seek professional help.
Right. Okay, now I want to pause for a second and mention some things going on with the West Garfield Park Youth Council and Fathers Who Care. This is an internship for ages 16 to 24 years old. You are able to train for 15 hours a week and learn basic skills on business, budgeting, and finances, mock interviews, mock resumes, and things of that nature, and they will take you to sites like Walmart, Target, etc. to help you get a job. And this is with Fathers Who Care, and if you want more information about this, you can contact Princess at 773-287-5821, or you can email her at princess, princess.fwc@gmail.com. Again, that email is princess.fwc@gmail.com. Also, to worksite partners who know of youth that would like to work with specifically this summer. If the youth meet the eligibility requirements listed below, please ask them to complete the online summer application at www.onesummerchicago.org, and this is to have a job with One Summer Chicago. I can't really zoom in on it, so you can't really see, so I only read the bottom portion, so it doesn't really make sense. I'm sorry. But yes, if you want to fill out that application, you can go to www.onesummerchicago.org. So, why is it so difficult for young people and people of color in general to discuss mental health?
Oh, I think it's very hard for everyone to discuss mental health in general, whether you're a professional, whether you're a young adult, or even a child, because we sometimes don't have the language to speak about mental health. But more so with young people and people of color, I think there's a lot of factors that contribute to it. One of them being, it's still very much stigmatized. There's a lot of like hush hush, we don't talk about this outside the family. It's not something that we kind of give importance, because in many cases we just don't know that we need to give it importance. So that is another factor. Lack of education, right? A lot of people do not know the basic signs of what depression can look like, of what anxiety can look like, what the difference is between someone who's experienced a trauma. And so because of the lack of education, then it's hard to talk about it. And the last thing that I think is why some young people, specifically people of color, cannot talk about or have a hard time talking about mental health is because they're always, unfortunately, in our communities, there is always something going on. There's always something going on, and in many cases, they're so much on survival mode that giving their mental health the priority is just not realistic. It's not happening, right? Because they're focused on how am I gonna, how I'm gonna get to school safe, or how am I gonna have food on the table tonight, or how am I, how am I gonna pay for college, right? So there's so many day-to-day stressors that they don't have the opportunity to kind of thrive instead of surviving, right? Yep. And so I think that just kind of adds to the reason why we can't talk about it as much, or it's hard to talk about it.
Yeah. So how can young people contact you if they are in need of immediate intervention or support for mental and or behavioral health concerns?
So for immediate help, right? Obviously, if someone's experiencing a mental health crisis, the easiest and the safest way is to either call 911 for support and help, or get to an emergency room as soon as possible. But one of the things that I do recommend is talk to someone that you trust, and a trusted adult, a parent, a school counselor, a therapist, maybe your doctor. And then from there, kind of ask them for support to seek services. But there are some resources, and I'm going to kind of share, because there are national hotlines that you can kind of tap into. So there is a National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and that's a 24/7 hour that you can call or text. And that's accessible, and it's free of cost, right? And you can talk to a crisis counselor. Then there is a crisis text line, and this is for texting because young people like to text more than
yeah.
talk, right? And so this is where you get the opportunity to text TALK, TALK, to 741-741, and there you're going to be texting back and forth with a trained crisis counselor. And that, again, is free of cost, and it is 24/7, 7 days a week.
Okay.
But I think the other thing is obviously encouraging others to seek services and seek treatment. And then in an emergency or immediate, it's really important that you take someone to the emergency room or a behavioral health facility like ours, where we offer no-cost level of care assessments. You can call or walk in, and you'll get a no-cost level of care assessment.
So how can we collectively work together to reduce senseless violence, substance abuse, and poor mental health on the west side of Chicago?
That is a very full question, yes.
Yeah.
And I think everyone is really involved in trying to prevent all of that, right? I think the biggest thing that I want to kind of share is that we need to stay informed. We need to know what's going on in the community. We need to know what resources are already in the community and who's working towards that same goal, right? And get involved. We need as much community engagement and input so that community organizations can unite, and people, whether it is law enforcement, council members, politicians, they can all kind of unite, and organizations, right, unite to create solutions together, right? And I think that's definitely one of the biggest ways that we can all prevent.
Yep. So if someone is watching and is in need of getting in contact with you, how can they reach you?
Well, as I mentioned before, there's a couple ways that you can kind of get in touch with us. You can go on our website for Heartgrove Behavioral Health System. The website is heartgrovehospital.com. You can see all the services that we have available there. And you can also visit our website at garfieldparkhospital.com. But most importantly, you have access to both of our facilities 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days out of the week. We offer no-cost level of care assessments, so someone can either call or walk into our hospitals and get a level of care assessment at no cost.
That's good.
And I can give you the number. So Heartgrove Behavioral Health System, the number is 773-413-1720. And then for Garfield Park Hospital, the number is 773-265-3720. And again, you can either call or walk in to get in touch with us.
Did you mention the locations of the hospital?
Yeah, they're on the west side of Chicago.
Okay.
And you can visit our website for the addresses.
Right, okay. So if you are just tuning in, our guest tonight on the show is Ms. Gomez, and we are discussing mental health and young people. We would like to thank our viewers for watching. For additional information about our youth council, please contact us at 773-287-5821. Again, that is 773-287-5821, and ask for Ms. Princess. Thank you, and tune in next week, same time, same station.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.